I was hoping you were going to go the other way. Can you hear me? Okay. Um, oh boy. I was hoping you'd get through everybody else before you came to me. So my experience, you want the background of the story having to do with SL and then what I'm doing right now? So at the time when I first started in Second Life, I was working as a professional development specialist associated with instructional technology, the use of instructional technology, and kind of got hooked up with the whole virtual worlds group in that. So I was doing some work not only in Second Life, working as a docent at the main Second Life campus, or ISTE, but I'm a founding guild master of a guild in World of Warcraft called Cognitive Dissonance, and we did a lot of work through those two different channels at the time. Currently, the director of advanced learning in the arts at a school district in Westchester, in New York State, and that's where I currently am. I don't know if you have any specific questions or are looking for anything additional. You're welcome.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me at the last moment. I appreciate being on the stage. You know me, I always like to talk about myself.
Great to have you.
I started off in Second Life in 2006, and I was a technology director for a school district. I'm just generally a geek, so I loved the building process, and then all of a sudden the den, the Discovery Education Network, had a place on an island, and so I started hanging around there and learned how to pull a interactive whiteboard out of my inventory, throw it on the ground, and do PD. And so then I approached our superintendent and asked if we could buy a island for the school district. So he went into Second Life and looked around, and there were some seedy things, which of course we've all come across, but he thought it was a good idea. So we bought an island, not a student island, but an island. And I built buildings, and we had 4 school districts, 3 educational agencies, and even Spiff was on our island. And we held, real-time professional development within that, on that island. So it was really a lot of fun. I did a workshop with my teachers, and they all had to present their stuff in Second Life, which was kind of interesting to watch. I'm now retired from the school district in 2011, but I've always been, since 1995, been on the speaking circuit and keep up with all the new technologies and just try to help teachers effectively use technology to support teaching and learning. That's it.
Well, thank you, Andy. It's always a pleasure to be in your general vicinity, whether it's in real life or virtually. And Kathy, thank you, because I had my intro, which is a geek. We can always have the. Kathy and I actually did a joint weekend presentation at a school in Edison, New Jersey, a long time ago. And we had great fun doing that. It was on desktop video conferencing. Back in the day, when ISTE's Island was huge, I volunteered early on as a docent. Never really had a schedule. I sort of just made up my own, but was pretty active. And I created a blog hut, the blogger's hut at ISTE Island, and then the podcaster's hut. And had great fun doing that. Blogged at OH Virtual Learning untitled.blogspot.com for a long, long time. And meanwhile, I was teaching elementary school at University School in Nashville. Moved on to help found the virtual school, the online school for the public school district here in Nashville, Tennessee. After 7 years of that, I moved back into the classroom, and now that's kind of where I am, which I say with some irony in these times. But I'm teaching a computer lab for middle school students in a 1,000-student, very diverse public school. Happens to be a real hotspot for the COVID at the moment. So I'm not sure at all. I mean, like many of you, we're not sure what we're going to do, but having this to do and the community here has been very good for my sanity. So I'll hand it back to my brother from another mother, Spiff.
All right, thank you. Let's bounce back to No Clue. No Clue, I hope you're with us and want to tell us your early days of SL, and then tell us all your amazing travels and adventures. What you're up to now.
Sure. I started out as a looking at the virtual economies and doing a lot of work with my business students in my accounting classes and business classes, looking at introducing them to different virtual worlds and games, and looking at how business occurs in these virtual spaces, and sort of getting them an idea for early e-commerce, because actually these spaces were a really good way to have them sort of extrapolate what their physical retail they normally see, what goes on online. And so we started off with that and did a lot of things with VWBPE. Everyone loves griefers. The early days of griefers and their experiences with figuring out how to follow you around with boxes and a variety of odd shapes and sizes. Uh, and playing around a lot of that. Since then, I have also went into World of Warcraft. I did a lot of stuff in World of Warcraft. Same thing, looking at the economy and auction houses in World of Warcraft, Guild Wars, to a lot of other games. I joined Cognitive Dissonance, then went on and co-founded Horde Side Guild. I saw a lot of For the Hordes out there, and Inevitable Betrayal on the Horde side. Recently, I shouldn't say recently, in the last 3 years, I have decided to go back to school and pursue my PhD. I am now in the dissertation phase of community college leadership PhD program at Old Dominion. As you'd expect, the game playing has gone down a little bit. So, working more on the dissertation now, and a lot of things we did is the metagame book club is something we're doing a lot now, which is we take a book, a popular science fiction book. Like this fall, we'll be doing the Altered Carbon trilogy, and going ahead and looking at the technology, looking at the different aspects of those books, and then at virtual environments, looking at educational technology and a variety of other aspects of them. And that'll be a virtual book club. And we've been doing about 3 of those a year, myself, Kay, and a variety of other folks. And from the career side of things, I have also now become the associate dean of CT, career and technical education and mathematics here in Colorado at Colorado Community Colleges Online. And so we're dealing with a lot, as many of you already talked about, dealing with COVID, and we were already fully online before that, so we spent a lot of time helping our 13 community colleges shift to remote learning and helping them train their faculty, for those that do not have necessarily the resources to train all their faculty, helping them train their faculty online. We've also used the Second Life as a way for the multimedia students as a way to sort of introduce the 3D design. So the whole course. So keep him busy.
Thanks, Chris. I think that seems to be a common theme with most of us up here. But so let's move it on over to Kayvon Zanovka. Kayvon, tell us about what you've been up to.
Hi everybody, and I'm reading the chat too. And I absolutely love that we've been social distancing for 2 decades. Oh my god.
Yes, we have.
And Grid just typed in something, and if they give us a chance to talk, Grid, I think I have an answer to that. Okay, let's see. I started volunteering with Virtual World's Best Practice at VWBPE, and I got involved there. And then I got a chance to, my school at that time actually had a surplus, and we had an island called Front Range for a while, and we did a lot of things there. And now that I was thinking about it, we did a lot of things about death. We did the Tibetan Book of the Dead. We did the Egyptian Book of the Dead. We did Deo de los Muertos. Abacus did, pirate accounting. That could also be death, but we did a lot of death there. Now that I think of it,
Depends on whether your books are balanced or not.
Okay. So we did a lot of death. Then I did the 5 iterations of the Games MOOC. And then I decided to also do something silly like Abacus, and I started in an EDD program, but I switched over to a PhD program, and I'm in that PhD program now, and quite honestly, my dissertation is going to be on immersion. And the program I'm at is University of Colorado Denver, and University of Colorado Denver does a really good job of critical frameworks. And critical frameworks is just the academic way of saying, looking at schools and taking into account race, gender, socioeconomics, abilities, and taking a critical look at things. So that's what I'm doing, and that's kind of what I want to end up doing my dissertation on, bringing that into virtual environments and VR. And looking at, and bringing that kind of literature in it. So if anybody is interested in that, that was my advertisement. Okay. Other than that, because I'm in PhD school, I'm have to focus more on writing, and I want to do a shout out to some wonderful people who have agreed to let me write about an event they just recently had. Grid and Serena and Joey Obama and Joyce and France and Randy, and I think his last name is Rick, although I might have gotten that wrong, but Grid can go ahead and correct me. I just want to say a shout out. They just did a prom in OpenSim for a bunch of students in Florida who probably would not be through Avacon. Yes, thank you, through Avacon. and we got to give him props for that. So that's what I'll be writing up what they did next month as soon as I get done with my other assignment for class. So that's all from me.
Able to get voice? We can't wait to hear from you. If not, maybe you can tell us in chat. Tell us about your early experiences with SL and where you are now. No voice yet. All right, so let's see if I can put this question into chat real quick and have No Clue tell us what she's been up to, because thanks. So we'll see if No Clue can type out what
she's typing away.
All right. Good. Okay, so no clue. Says SL was the game changer to all my work that landed me here. Laughing at Orinoke's comment. And she's currently got her students in OpenSim. Yay, OpenSim. They do love it, and I'm sure you see it with all virtual world. It's kind of a magic that happens when you see students. All that is old is new again, and it's middle school students. Hey James, can you turn that down a little bit, bud? And No Clue created Cog with Decama for the lockdown. And kept it for my class, kept it for her class. I see that, Roxy, yeah, doing machinima. And No Clue remembers machinima. Yes, so SL may not have been the platform we thought it would be. And it's a good point, Thunder. It is a springboard, but it was a game changer because it created a network of real virtual pioneers. I definitely agree with that. It's a great way to put it. It changed her pedagogy. And Lauren, I see your comment about, yes, Chromebooks. Love Chromebooks, but limiting. And so that has brought No Clue to New Zealand to do a deep dive into the New Zealand curriculum. So from a second life to a whole nother continent. And you can read more at marianmalmstrom.com. So thank you for that, No Clue. Amazing work, and so glad you could make it, and so glad you could plug that in. One more thing. Please check out mixiply.com. Okay, so please look at that. So maybe kind of, so her students help local developers create a platform to create AR and VR content. Awesome, and thank you, Abacus, for putting that link in. I hope people are checking that out. So let's open up kind of a new line of conversation, and I think it ties into maybe what No Clue said about SL. While she's not using SL actively now, especially with students and in schools, but how did SL, and this is a question for the whole group, I guess maybe first, was SL a game changer for you, and how so? And what kind of avenues did it open up for you? So we'll start with Victoria and head on over for the group.
Oh, we're starting with Victoria. So it became a game changer in the way that it was an opportunity to open up those networks. The social distancing piece that we were kidding about a few minutes ago in the chat, we were able to, it became an immersive 3D representation of all of those other connected ways of communicating. And the beginning of that feeling of being immersed in an environment and interacting with others. So regardless of whether or not it was Second Life or another virtual space, it truly was the beginning of the conversations in relation to that. So there are people, experiences, connections that would have never been made without the platform itself. That's how I recall all of it. Still people in this network that I know and am connected with and have never physically met.
You know, it's I'll just tell a quick little story about Victoria. She's a New York teacher. I'm New York as well, on opposite sides of the state, so we might as well be on two different planets. But we did, I saw a presentation by Victoria at the NiceGate conference, and it was one of the best presentations, and she talked about, I think you talked about SL, but you also went into World of Warcraft, which many of the people on this panel have experience with as well. And it was really mind-blowing, and like I think the whole audience, it was a packed house, I remember, and the whole audience went away like, wow. And it was just, it was a great session, and it felt like there was so much potential there, and at that time it seemed like this was going to take off, and, people did World of Warcraft certainly, but like tying in that big educational, big idea, still out there.
Yeah, what's interesting is what I need to what it leads into is really, for instance, the right now. My daughter, when everything started in New York in relation to the pandemic, I have children, an oldest child who's 21 and a youngest child who's 7. And the 7-year-old is home and isolated with her parents and a brother who's a good 11 years older than her and all the rest of that. We saw an advertisement for a virtual world that was geared towards her called Adventure Academy. Adventure Academy appears to be owned by the same people who do ABC Mouse, and it's kind of an adventure quest-based space where they go around and do learning activities, watch videos, solve problems in math, science, social studies, all different types of stuff, while building a house and gaining new items and leveling up. 4 of her real-life friends who were in the region but she wasn't able to physically get together with also joined Adventure Academy, and they use, I guess it's the 7-year-old version of getting on Discord and playing games together. They use Facebook Messenger to connect to each other via voice, and the 5 of them went around virtual world together, sometimes playing the game together and sometimes making up their own games within that space. And that space became for them, or has become for them, the way that they socially interact in the afternoons when they're done with their virtual homework in whatever other spaces. So when you hear them, screaming and playing and having what we call virtual sleepovers, where we let them stay up on their devices and communicate with one another in their pajamas and in bed, I don't think that construct for them would have existed without these constructs for us 15 and 20 years ago.
Nice. Good connection. So, Kathy, the word early adapter, I think, certainly applies to you. You've been an early adapter on almost every every technology. Um, but beyond that, tell us again. The question was, how did Second Life maybe influence your work and going forward?
Yeah, just an early adopter. Before Second Life, I did Google Lively, which is a 6-month Google project that no one's ever heard of. I think I was the only user, so they shut it down. But that was my first time of actually being in a virtual world of all my own, because there's no one else in there to talk to. So when I went to Second Life, and again, those of you that know me know I'm a terminally left brain learner, and I didn't go in there to do anything but what I did in real life. And you know, David Warlick and Alan November and Steve Dembo, we brought them along and were able to, and then they just, especially Dave, just blossomed with the amount of information he left in his office on the island where everyone could just go and get his materials. And, just like in real life, people that help you out, you'll just help everybody out. I mean, that's what I do. I help teachers, and in Second Life, that's what I did also. I provided a space where others could come and do PD without me having to run it or do it, or I gave them some training, and that was about it. So I do believe Second Life was a social network, that we didn't have those words back then. And I have met a lot of the people that I didn't know in real life, that I met in Second Life. I've met them at conferences. And so part of the whole social network thing is also meeting your virtual friends in real life and making that connection. So it has been a great thing for me.
Well, before SL, I had explored Active Worlds, which of course was a very early virtual world. Scott Miller's here and was one of the, well, he was the master architect of Quest Atlantis, which I used with my second, third, and fourth graders for about a year and a half. And I recall a really moving moment when many of you might know Ben Folds, his son, um, was working with another child, and they modded their avatars so that they were identical. And one was African American, one was black, and one was white. And really moved me. They wore identical T-shirts and had matching sort of mid-range skins for a moment. Second Life early on introduced me to the concept of a huge active community, and I was totally hooked. I mean, I started blogging about it, and I copied my blog, which is still available in all the old posts. I did that for a long time, and really made me think about writing and think about communicating a lot. Right now, in real life, I'm rewriting everything I've ever written, essentially. Several short stories, a novella. I've got a half a novel and a full published novel. But dedication to communication, I think, is what Second Life did for me. And it's established lifelong relationships I wouldn't have had otherwise. I think other people have addressed that, but I mean, heck, I met you in Second Life.
Okay, let's thank you, Scott. And again, I think that's definitely the power for me as well as meeting some really amazing educators that have inspired me. And speaking of that, let's go over to Abacus and Kay. How did, I mean, was Second Life the spark to your future work, or was it just one more piece to that puzzle that's pushed your work since then in World of Warcraft and beyond in games community?
I think for me, Second Life was one of those opening experiences. Number one, as everyone has said, community. That was a wonderful thing about Second Life. It still is you have great communities like this one where they're really dedicated to helping each other out and really sort of exploring the space and seeing how we can continue to share information and communicate. And it was really great and same thing for my students. When I brought in my students, a lot of them are a lot of I teach at a community college. A lot of my students don't necessarily have access to the larger world. Their worldview is very narrow, depending on their personal experiences, and so bringing them into World of Warcraft had some challenges from the technical side, and I think that's one of the reasons why maybe Second Life didn't catch on. But I think that it also opened their eyes to seeing what things could be, and it sort of opened my eyes as far as letting students have options. Because that's definitely one of the things that I changed for a lot of my teaching and my personal teaching, and I've also advocated for my faculty and instructors now is whenever they're giving assignments and they're creating their assessments and they're creating their various activities for the students, is giving students options, letting them, instead of just only making every single student write a paper, giving them options. Maybe they want to go ahead and do a video. Maybe they want to act out. Maybe a group wants to act out a skit in a virtual environment and record that, make a machinima to basically do their presentation. A lot of it is giving them that flexibility and sort of opening that door both for my peers and my fellow faculty members, empowering them to have that flexibility and realizing there's different ways that we can assess knowledge, also giving students the ability to go ahead and play to their strengths. Uh, some students, just writing isn't where they want to be. Now, of course, if we have to assess writing, then yes, they have to write. But if writing isn't the required bit, then we can let them have different deliverables and give them those options and give them different ways. So I think that's probably one of the things I definitely got from Second Life with different ways to do things. Also, the thing I liked about Second Life is that it's definitely informed my philosophy that technology happens. It's a mystery, like any event. So it's just definitely made me a much more patient person when it comes to working through technology and having fun exploring when things don't work. And I think that's carried over a lot in my administrative duties, where it's just sort of like, yes, things don't always work the way they plan. So Second Life always prepares you. All technology prepares you for that. So I think that's one of the things that it is. It's having that playful spirit. I think part of the other piece I'd say from Second Life gives you the chance to sort of take your own path, and that's another thing I saw in World of Warcraft. Is another reason why I'm in World of Warcraft. It allows you to go ahead and explore the world the way you want to do it. Go ahead and find what appeals to you. And if you like working in big events, there's lots of opportunities. If you're more someone who likes to focus on your own little piece, you can do that. You can find a piece of land, you can find a sandbox, you can play around with it, or you can just follow along with different things. It allows Second Life allows you to lurk, it allows you to engage, it allows you a wide variety of different possibilities. I think that's really sort of the power of these virtual environments like Second Life. And I'll let Kay.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah,
Sure.
Kay. You want to take it from there? How did Second Life inspire your work, or did it? And
Okay, well,
go from
first of all, before I came into Second Life, I never knew I was creative. I never knew I was creative. Why? Because I'm not an artist. I'm not a singer. I don't play a musical instrument. So I always thought I was the person who was good with students. And and then I got in here and I found out I could do anything. I could build anything. My students could build anything. And like I said, because I didn't, through my education and my work, I didn't have that, I didn't teach the art classes. I didn't teach the music classes. I was always, so personally, it let me know I was creative. Okay, yes, I never thought I could create art. I never thought on Machinima. I mean, No Clue showed me how to do Machinima, and then Grid showed me how to do Machinima more, and then suddenly I won this award for Machinima, and I was like, what? Yeah, so I want to say that's the experience. Yes, Cowboys and Aliens was the best set ever. Okay, and yes, I also brought that to my students. Now, the other thing I was going to say, and I wanted to get this in here, and just tell me if I'm talking too long, but the other thing Second Life kind of taught me with all of technologies is when I sit in meetings and when people say they can't do things, or it's never possible, I just sit there and in my head I have this mantra, and this mantra goes, you can run, but you can't hide. Okay? And I keep saying that in my head, like whenever they say you can't do things. Oh, and out to Tizzy, yes, I am a bricolaire. That is my brand. My brand is bricolaire. But what I was gonna say is that Honoranique was saying this, that everything is old is new again, and we're hearing the same things. I really think that this is a time for us. And the reason why is because, come on, Zoom bombers are nothing compared to the griefers we had, okay? Technology going down, we'd have whole Sims going down. We know how to handle that. We know how to bring people back up from that, right? And then think about people getting Zoom fatigue. You know what? We don't get Zoom fatigue. And you know why? One of the reasons is because we don't stare at, when we're in these virtual spaces, we're not staring at a person, a webcam version of a person and just staring at them intently, trying to get all the cues and nuances we would if they were face to face. Okay? Yeah, we're active. And I mean, whether you're playing World of Warcraft or in some other game, and Catherine mentioned about her son. I know my friends' sons are staying up late and playing, and their parents are letting them because at least they have something to do. But there's so much we've learned here that we can take out and tell people about when it comes to remote learning, about how bad Zoom really is, and let's do something active. And the other thing I just wanted to say, because I'm involved in another organization with all the other doctoral students for educational technology, instructional design, this new group coming up do not know second half. They barely know games. Okay? So when we just did one of the poster exhibits at for VWBP this year, because it was all we had time for. They were amazed about going into a, like the box, and the box was nothing more. No, we made it steampunk. Something that because of COVID and having to do everything else, we put together relatively quickly. They were amazed by it. So I was going to just say that we have to start bringing everybody who hates remote and start showing them this. That's all. I know I went so well.
No, that's good. It was all great stuff. And that actually will kind of bring me into our last question. We'll let people pontificate about this, and we'll probably start with UK to make things fair. So Victoria doesn't have to always be the starter, but and you kind of hit on it with your question. So we've all experienced, probably everyone in this room who's talked about Second Life or virtual environments or World of Warcraft, when you talk to educators and you get the glossy-eyed stare, like the what? Like, what is this person talking about? Do you think we're going to make, you mentioned, Kay, this is our moment, and tomorrow we're going to have a panel on the future, people are doing future-ready projects like VR. Do you think this is the moment, and do you think things like VR, even the advanced gaming things, this is their time? Somebody mentioned in chat, esports. Is this our time again? And maybe this experience has pushed us forward. Go ahead.
I think we have to bring it up. I think we have to start showing people there's more than, that there's more than Zoom. I absolutely believe we have to show them more than that. VR has me worried just a little bit, and not that I'm backing away from it, okay? But you have to realize, I come from a community college. My students are not privileged. My students, we have older students too, first, second, third, fourth chances. I mean, I am my students. The thing about it is, the price for VR is really high at this point. So, and you can say, well, get a grant. A grant only helps isolated one-off groups. I think we also have to look to the mobile devices and look to what AR we can also put in there as a stopgap measure. So basically for me, it is our moment. I think we have to do that. I will tell you, I'm talking to another group because where I do my PhD is an urban area, and it's very proud of being an urban area and getting students. They will not be able to do that this fall. Okay, the political science classes will not be able to walk around, look at historic sites, look at gentrification, look at things where, look at where crimes were committed, where laws happened, things like that. But I think, and I'm talking with some people about us developing a very basic, but an AR tour that students can do this by themselves and then report back. So I think there's lots of opportunities, and other people I know have a lot more to say.
Abacus, how about you? Future of education, is this our time?
I think so. I think that definitely this is a way, because I think people are getting, as you talked about, people are getting burnt out with just looking at each other on camera. They're getting burnt out with Zoom, and this is a lot more fun than Zoom. This is a lot more fun than playing around on just looking at it. I think also it gives your instructors more creativity. It does require more training. It does require a bit more technology. I think that the opportunities are there. I think the biggest challenge is getting some of our fellow peers in education to really look at and seeing how we can go ahead and leverage these spaces, because I think that it's always been our challenge. I think a lot of the challenges there have always been challenging innovation. It's how do you defeat that inertia? Well, we've always done this. In business, we talk about sacred cows make the best burgers. Because there's just reasons, there's just things that we just do just because, well, we've always done it. No justification of why we still do them. It's just, well, that's the way it's always been done. And I think that it's just a matter of looking at it and seeing how can we go ahead and figure out ways to sort of, inspire the passion with our peers. And some of it is just through modeling it ourselves. Part of it is going ahead and showcasing it and driving them to conferences that showcase the value. I think the other thing we can do better is better documentation on our part. So recording these sessions, live streaming them, hosting them on YouTube, posting them there, making sure that we're indexing them so it's easy searchable. So that way we can go through and then send links and send snippets to friends and colleagues and say, hey, have you thought about this? I posted an article that I've shared with a lot of people, Schaefer's Epistemic Frames for Epistemic Games. In career technical education, we're all about epistemic frames, all about communities of practice. We're all about how do you go ahead and model behavior in professional communities and communities of practice. Well, games allow us to do that, especially in business, accounting. They all follow and reflect these pieces. Something like Second Life, which is where you're building everything from scratch. You as an educator can create and model the environment that you want your to explore and to role play in. I think you're also seeing that now with groups like Critical Role bringing Dungeons and Dragons back. I think that you're seeing that where role play is now becoming a key word. It's no longer a bad four-letter word in education. That go ahead and figure out how you can make education a little bit more fun and engage your students. So I think that's one of the things that we have is it's really sort of number one, getting our colleagues to get used to these environments, invite them in to engage them, to figure out how this might work in their class, and then support them. I think that's one of the things that I've benefited from. That so many of you here have helped me so much, and thank you so much. I wouldn't necessarily be where I'm at without all the support I've had from the community here in Second Life, the community in Warcraft, and just people to bounce ideas off of. Kay gets to suffer through all my bad ideas and all my good ideas, and Kay also gets to help me out with instructional design and some other things. So there's lots of things that we all need a support group, and I think that's one of the things that it's just building one, whether it's locally or leveraging these type of networks. Go ahead and build something at your school.
Thanks, Chris. Scott, what's the future?
It's the day after tomorrow. Really.
Nice.
I don't have a lot to share, but after that, I mean, it's hard to follow. But I mean, Chris mentioned the 7 most dangerous words in the English language, that's the way it's always been done. And there's several variations of that, but they all mean the same thing. It's doing something just because that's the established way of doing it, and nothing's really blown up, but nothing's really gotten better. So our mission, and I totally agree, is to celebrate these kinds of events and this kind of thought and being disruptive in a positive way and sharing that stuff. I just had a lesson that I'd worked on for months for Minecraft Education Edition accepted by Minecraft, and it's there now, and it's adaptable to almost any discipline. It's just a vocabulary research and citation thing, but it's lots of fun in Minecraft, and hopefully some people will benefit from it. But I'm not sure I will, because my school district has gotten a grant to disseminate devices to the kids, and I do believe they're going with Chromebooks. So again, the dollar wins out, and I'll have to find some other way to help my kids. But believe me, I will, and part of the reason I will is because I do have this supportive community and the support system that we have provided to one another for a long, long time, and hopefully will continue to do so. That's me. That's it.
Thanks, Scott. No clue. The future of education, where are we going? And is the time now, I guess. And no clue else says, I have heaps to say about this. Fortunately, my mic doesn't work. Or unfortunately. So we're just reading off No Clue's comments. That would be great. We'd love to hear for you. But the one thing she does want to say, so No Clue says is do not underestimate the creativity and energy that happens. So No Clue says do not underestimate the creativity and energy that happens when a new platform is being adopted. Over time, we tend to dumb down all the stuff by schoolifying it. Yes, very true. I've seen it happen with Minecraft and other games, and it breaks your heart. I agree. I think we've all maybe experienced that phenomenon. Educating the learning out of it, says Scott. Yep. So another one of our challenges. Okay, so Kathy, I think No Clue's finished. Kathy, do you want to answer the question, future from your perspective?
Yeah, I would. Which is, I'm talking near future at this point, but I come at it from a little bit different view. Don't use Minecraft, don't use World of Warcraft. This is my virtual world, and I just read the our state's back to school regulations, where the desks all have to face the same direction. Students can be apparently they can't get the virus, so they can be up to 3 to 6 feet apart. They can't pass by other desks, besides all the PPE and the masks and the gloves and all that. My feeling is one way to get people to the gaming components or understand how these worlds can engage and enhance instruction is to, and you guys don't boo me off the stage, is to almost schoolify it. My feeling is if you could bring a classroom of students to a computer lab, and they could be in some kind of virtual world where they can do their collaborative groupings around the campfires and do the kinds of things they're not even going to be able to do in real life. I think teachers who are very creative would all of a sudden see that, well, I could develop this assessment and they can, do something a different way than I would normally have them do it. The ability to, how it is in Second Life, to pull anything out of your pocket and put it down, whether you're at the beach at NASA, is pretty amazing. And the learning curve is not huge. So I'm just thinking that maybe in the near future, this is going to be something that might meet the needs of schools. That's it.
Kathy, and good comments. And let's go to Victoria. So, future of education, maybe bridge the gap between using cool stuff and then but bringing it to school.
I believe what we experienced pushed all of those people in that that were saying that the technology was secondary or something that they'd deal with later because they had the tools of, they were so used to the tools of the face-to-face instruction that the tools of others were not necessary. We pushed a whole lot of people into other comfort zones and out of their comfort zones and into other places. But I don't see that giving our attention to any one of these platforms or any one of these ways is what we're looking at. But again, having all of these ways available to us and stopping trying to say we have to adopt a platform or a thing for our school or our this or our that. That teachers may find something like Second Life good for this unit or that unit, and then in another way they'll find another tool that's out there, and we have to figure out the ways to allow those things to organically flow and become part of their spaces. It's never been about how to use this in one way. My dog is barking in the background. I apologize. He's growling, and you hear him there. I found something interesting through the pandemic. I don't know if anyone was familiar with or worked with Whitfield. Whitfield back 15, 20 years ago when we were doing all of this, actually simulated a pandemic along with the CDC within its virtual world. And and I believe that theirs was based on a measles type pandemic. And there's a whole lot of research out there and there was a resurgence of it, and a resurgence of speaking about it and looking at that research and that project in the last few weeks and months. And I find it so interesting to see that kind of everything is, for me, everything is old is new again. You just look up James, I believe his last name is Bower, Bower. He's the individual who was the creator of Whitfield, and Whitfield, Whyville, and pandemic. It's going to come up. It was grant with the CDC. So if you search that out, it's going to come up. But we have to take our experiences of this everything old is new again for us. We've been talking about and screaming from the rooftops about the use of these technologies for the last 15 or 20 years, and say now that we have an avenue, I guess, a way in, bring everybody else along with us with the patience that it so entails.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So that kind of ends our discussion. I'm sure we could keep on rolling. I do want to just make sure everyone knows we do have a social event this evening, 5 p.m. Second Life time, and it'll be kind of some music, dancing, chatting. Hopefully you'll come back for that. Love to see everyone and maybe have some relaxing conversation. And again, we have a full slate of events for tomorrow. I'm going to paste the website of all the events, including a great presentation on the future of education. We'll talk about, also Roxy's going to have an interview and talk about some of the fun things of SL, those early days and all the newbie things we did. And last but not least, let me just finish off saying also I don't want to forget that Kay also has a World of Warcraft event that we put at the bottom of that website. So if you wanted to join that World of Warcraft event, that's going on this evening as well. And last but not least, I just want to say I remember seeing an interview from Philip Rosedale in the early days of Second Life. He's, of course, I guess, credited with being the creator of Second Life. And he talked about how virtual worlds create a sense of different places and unique places. And when you go to, say, a conference, you know, it's kind of, your learning seems to be enhanced in a conference primarily because you're in a different location and you're seeing different pieces of a different world. And that sparks your creativity and your engagement and your enthusiasm. So I think hopefully we can, and I think that's what Zooms do not show. That's why they're so dry and so dull, Zoom meetings. So hopefully maybe this will spark that curiosity. And also a huge thing that came out with all of your conversations here is creativity, is bringing creation and creativity. And that to me is something that we desperately need more of in education in general. And it's what the great things that virtual environments can do, is bring both of those factors. So with that, thank you everybody. Love the conversation and hope you'll stick around and come back tonight for our socials and our events for tomorrow. See you everybody.